Hey everyone, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Confidence Factor. I am so excited to be here today and to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Welcome to the Confidence Factor, where identity meets strategy and confidence becomes your posture. Good morning, Apostle Oliver. It's so good to see you this morning. I am Nicole Marie, your inspired strategist, and I am here to help you build what heaven showed you, both boldly and confidently. I am so honored and so excited because the confidence factor has been such a blessing to me. And each week we've explored how confidence has shaped and continues to shape how we show up in life and leadership and our legacy, both ministry, marketplace, all of those good buzzwords that are going around right now. Last week, you all, we had such an incredible conversation with the one and the only Bryant Stokes about style, identity, and leadership, and how we can wear what we wear can help us step really into who we're called to be, right? Today, we are shifting from what's seen to what is said and diving into the power of finding your voice. I am so excited and so honored, you all. This is such a very personal topic to me. And communication has been an area for me that has been challenging to overcome due to so many different factors, right? When you grow up as an only child, you don't necessarily have the people around you to help shape and form and all of those things. There's so many dynamics that go into your communication, and then as you grow older and you grow up, you have different traumas that take place, and they cause you to go inward, and all of those things. And so communication, from both finding your voice to relational communication to public speaking. I remember being about 7 or 8 years old, and I was a part of a pageant, and I had to go up. I had to do a little song and dance, and I got up and I started. I got ready to sing my song, and I had to do it a cappella, and I was singing a Kirk Franklin song in a space that really wasn't very Kirk Franklin friendly. But I ended up singing, going up there, and I froze. And I'm 7 or 8, and I just froze. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I do this? And what in the world am I supposed to do with this? And somebody had to come up and get me. But that was such a traumatizing moment for me. Truly, truly, it was such a traumatizing moment. And that moment, I would get stuck throughout the rest of my life. Every time I would have to get up in front of people, I would flash back to that moment, right? And so that shaped the way I communicated publicly. And so then I had to be intentional as I got older to push through that. Even as a teenager, I was singing a part of a praise and worship team, and somebody came and had to come behind me, and I'm singing background. I'm not even singing the lead. And somebody had to come behind me and stand and push me. So communication publicly has always been a challenge for me. And nowadays, people are like, oh, you're such a great communicator. And I'm like, oh gosh, do you not know what I have had to go through and what I've had to push through to get to where I am. You are welcome to the Confidence Factor, where identity meets strategy and confidence becomes our posture. Once again, I am Nicole Marie, your inspired strategist, here to help you build what heaven showed you boldly and confidently. Listen, y'all, I am so excited. Y'all have no idea. I've been talking about this all week, and I've been so honored to have a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. We have people who, when you're doing different things, and we have people that you call, oh, that's my friend. And, you build relationships with people, but y'all, this is truly, truly someone I get to call a friend of mine. I don't take that lightly. Cherish and I, we might talk here and there, right? We might send a little voice note and then forget to respond, and then send a voice note and be like, I'm so sorry, friend. I'm busy right now, but I just thought about you, and I wanted to send you a voice note to tell you I was thinking about you, and I forgot about your voice note from 3 months ago. Okay. But when we do get together, we spend hours and hours just really able to connect, and we know each other. She knows anytime I need to show up, I will, and vice versa. I know if I need to call Cherish Brown, she's gonna be right here. She has threatened my life. She has threatened the life of those that have hurt me, in the most loving way. And she is, y'all, she is, I call her Dr. Cherish, because she presents herself. You all will see this today. She presents herself in such an amazing fashion. You all, I am so excited. She belongs on billboards and TVs all across the world, and I am so excited to have her. So joining us today is personal development coach, communication expert, and emotional intelligence powerhouse, Cherish Brown. Hi, friend. How are you?
First of all, the intro is next level. It's next level. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. It's so good to have you this morning.
It's really good to be here. And you are definitely my friend. I was cracking up when you were when you were introducing me and talking about our voice notes and stuff, because that is exactly how we do it.
Yes, yes,
Drop in
yes.
here and there, but when we get together, it's like
Absolutely.
we see each other every day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm so grateful for we say this, the low maintenance types of relationships, but it truly is a blessing because it's low maintenance, but it's not low impact, right? And I am so very I cherish our relationship, and not to be, punny, but I do. Our relationship is very it's very unique, and it's something you don't find often. And so I am grateful for you. And as we talked about this week, to invite the people into our moments, because we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. This is over coffee, over lunch, over sushi, over all the things. This is what we really talk about.
Yep.
We're kind of nerds, but here we are. She is a personal development coach, and I'm going to let her tell us about herself. So, Cherish, can you tell the people about you and about your journey a little bit?
Sure. So, Cherish Brown here. I guess in this context, I am an emotional wellness consultant, coach. I focus a lot on emotional intelligence. And I started doing that. It wasn't even intentional. I was doing it for years before I even realized what I was doing or had the proper language for it. But I've always been the type of person where people come and they talk to me and they open up about things and they let go of things. And, we work through different things. And so I have a background in performing arts, and that is where I first started having these types of conversations, because I was coaching people in the arts when it came to acting, adding public speaking in that. And what I found was watching people perform on stage, whether they were in a play, auditioning for a commercial, doing a public address. The performance was one thing, but who they were as a person was something completely different. So growing up, my mom had a modeling school. And so I met a lot of amazing, talented people, right?
Yeah.
But I would also see people break down backstage. I mean, I'm talking about the most beautiful people you'll ever see, the most charismatic, amazing people would just have complete meltdowns. And I'm like, the real show is back here where I am. And so from a very young age, I was very aware of awareness or lack of awareness. And I was curious about how people really are. So that's always been there. And so growing up and going to school and learning a few things, I'm like, oh, that's EQ, talking to people about personhood and how to manage themselves, because awareness of self is one thing, but management of self is something different. And I just love it. And my personal story with it, social anxiety. I was the kid in class who,
and you would never be able to tell. You would never be able to tell, friend. You would never be able to tell.
That's the Lord and education and therapy. So I was the kid in class who my heart was thumping.
Yeah.
Please don't call on me. I don't want to speak. I don't want to read. I don't even want to walk through this door, like to the point of almost being debilitating.
Yeah.
Again, didn't have language for it, didn't know what it was. But as you grow and, start talking to people going to therapy, they're like, oh, that's anxiety. And so what I did was I married my love for performance, because listen to this. I can perform in front of hundreds or thousands of people if necessary, no problem. A one-on-one conversation would just take me out.
And see, I'm the complete opposite.
In a
I am
room
the
of,
complete opposite.
yeah,
Oh,
take me into a stadium, I'm fine. Tell
yes.
me, oh, let's talk to this panel of
Mm-mm.
5 people. It's like, what is going on? Maybe it's that proximity, whatever it was, it would wear me out. So what I did was I realized I thrive on the stage and I am just stuck when it comes to closeness. So how can I marry this? And so what I did was I developed a switch for myself and a character to sustain me until I felt comfortable being myself. And so I use that as kind of my framework for helping other
like a
people.
transition space.
Yes, it's just a transition space because it's okay.
Good.
Some people are fine talking to whoever. Some people are not. And it doesn't have to slow your life down. You just need some tools to manage yourself until you're able to grow and stand on your own as you are.
Yeah.
Wherever you are. So
I love that. You have such a beautiful story, and I really am excited to get into this topic today with you. So you all, once again, welcome to the Confidence Factor, where identity meets strategy and confidence becomes our posture. We have the one and the only. I call her Dr. Cherish because she is
one day
the one, and she's the doctor. She's the doctor. Okay, she really is the doctor. But we have Dr. Cherish, and she is a personal development coach. She really is the communication expert, y'all, and she is an emotional intelligence powerhouse. So we're going to dive in this morning to finding your voice. That's where we're going to start. And so, Cherish, what does it actually mean to find your voice? What would you say, and how to? Good morning, Rochelle. What would you say it means to actually find your voice?
Finding your voice starts with finding yourself, if that makes sense. And I know we really use that cliche, like finding myself, but it really is a thing. And so
it really is a thing.
I will never find my voice if I lack self-worth, if I am constantly comparing myself to everyone else, and it's okay to start off with inspiration from people that we follow, people that we look up to, but it should only be a guide to ultimately tapping into what God has deposited within us, uniquely within us. It's only a guide for a temporary passage, you know, so just don't get stuck there. Finding your voice comes into play when you really tap into who you are, develop your self-worth, and sit there until it activates. And sit there. It's like, I didn't feel it last year, so that must mean I'm not. Well, you got to continue to sit there until you find something.
To sit in it. Sit in it is so uncomfortable. That is you. Look, that's literally where I am. I told the people on week 2, I think it was the beginning of last week. I realized this really is a coming out for me in this space of the confidence factor, and the Lord is really using this to pull me out. Right, I'm someone, I think I've known my identity, but I have not sat in it because I get so uncomfortable. I'll step in it and I'll touch it, and then I bag all the way back. And then I'm like, let me go run. I'm gonna move. And my people know there's a joke. I'm like, I'll run over to Arizona or Colorado and just disappear. That's what I used to want to do, and just sabotage it all because I refuse to sit in it because it's just uncomfortable sometimes. And so that is absolutely so good. You have to sit in your identity. So why do you think that so many leaders and so many emerging voices struggle with actually finding their voice, speaking up, and sitting in their actual calling and identity?
Oh my goodness, there's so many reasons why I think that is, but I think it's the systems that we live in. and have to work in. And it puts a demand on us that is not only unnatural, but it's unhealthy. And I truly believe it's ungodly. You know, when you force people to have such a frequent output, to measure themselves by such unattainable points, you're going to have to pretend to be something else. You're going to have to reach to something that is foreign to your God-given identity. You're going to have to do that to supplement and to compensate for what is not naturally occurring. You know, we don't give people, human beings, just generally speaking, we do not create systems that allow for organic growth, that allow for authenticity, that allow for pacing, that allow for cadence. I am a strong believer in you having a pace for everything that God plans to do in you and through you. And whether we're attaching ourselves to the cadence of corporate America, even the institution of church and ministry, whatever demand that we have, it could even be as practical and innate as motherhood, whatever it is, whatever the status quo is, those systems will not allow us to be organically who we are and to polish ourselves along the way. So because of that demand, it can't be enough.
Wow.
It can't be enough. So I got to reach for something else.
We got to reach for something else. And how would you tell the people to begin to reach for that something else? What does that look like in our day-to-day life when we are stuck in so many systems and we're stuck in what's around us and we can't shift and we can't seem to grasp it because all we know is the system? I think in so many places, all we know is the system. We grew up in the systems. It's like we talk in
the system. Yeah.
Yes. We talk about the church, even growing up in church and being in church and the systems of the church and all of the things, right? Mm-hmm. And we get stuck in a system and we get stuck in religion and we get stuck in all of these things. And what does it look like to reach for that something else?
Yeah. For the truth, something else?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It looks like taking a stand and being okay with going against the grain. It takes accepting and being okay that there may be a time where I am a misfit. There may be a time where this feels lonely. There may be a time where I am misunderstood, and I have to be okay with being misunderstood long enough, with being a misfit long enough, with being misinterpreted, misrepresented, mishandled.
Yeah.
And I got to trust in the Lord that what he has placed in me is good. And there's a purpose for it.
Good.
So we have to be okay with being uncomfortable.
That is so good. That you have no idea. I was just listening to someone talk about how we have to be okay being misunderstood, right? Mm-hmm. And that is so hard to be misunderstood, especially when you are someone that has a pure heart. I know someone that she has such a pure heart, and she's often misunderstood, and like truly, like has such a purity of who she is and walking in who she is. And it's one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen when I see people like this. And she's misunderstood a lot just by her presence. Sometimes walking in the room, she's sometimes just misunderstood. Our friend Sherry Moore is on Instagram, and so she's saying hello and all the things. Sherry, we love you. We love you. We love you. But truly, I'm that place right there is, I think, such a hard place for us as leaders to be willing to be misunderstood, like willingly. But when we look at even our just examples biblically, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's what Jesus was misunderstood. This is why they took him to the cross in the first place. So
what do we think? What do we think that happen here? Like, it is very much that.
Yes,
and you got to get okay with it if you want to be honest, if you want to sleep well at night, if you want to truly develop in personhood and be authentic reflection of everything that God has threaded into your narrative, into your story for your life. So that truly is a skill that we have to cultivate.
Yes.
Being
Yes.
okay with being uncomfortable.
Being
You
okay
can't
with
even handle tough conversations
yeah.
most of the time.
I'm learning to embrace them more. These last 2 years of my life have been
Yeah.
embracing hard conversations. You and I have talked
Mm.
about that, and it embracing the hard conversation and not being threatened by them, but actually um, being empowered by them to continue. You know,
Mm.
hard conversations actually save relationships.
They do.
They save dynamics. Like
Mm.
I have seen it.
Yes.
I have seen it, and I have friends that I've come through relationships with and come through dynamics with, and leaders that I have had hard conversations with. You know, I'm a challenge sometimes when I see for
Mm-hmm.
people to understand because I sometimes just have a question, and sometimes people don't like my questions, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can be offensive to people, right?
Yeah.
And but then having to go back and say, well, this is actually what I meant, and having those
Yeah.
conversations and hearing, hey, this is how I experienced your question, this is how I
Exactly.
experienced your opinion, this is how I experienced your moment.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm having a hard moment, hearing how it affected somebody else
Mm-hmm.
changes everything. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about, I talked about this earlier when I was introducing you. You have such a beautiful presence. Yeah. When I say she belongs on, you all can see the woman of God is beautiful, in person and inwardly and outwardly. What
Thank
you
you,
see
my beautiful friend.
is what you get. She act just like she looks. I promise you. Like she is as sweet as she looks, but she also don't play. So as strong as she looks, that's what she is. So I want to talk about the difference between having a strong presence and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes being loud, because you have a loud presence. When you walk in a room, we know Cherish is in the room, right?
My
We
goodness.
know we know Cherish is in the room, but you're not obnoxious, right? You're not obnoxious in that way. You walk in and your presence stands. But I want to talk about the difference between being loud and being clear, because sometimes I think we
Mm.
can be loud and not clear and not settled in who we are and not settled in our message of how we present. And so, what would you say would be the difference, and how do people begin to identify and shift either into clarity if they don't have a loud presence, or if they do have a loud presence, how do
Mhm.
they even shift into clarity from both aspects?
Yeah. And so just so not, trying to avoid, like a misunderstanding of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just have loud personalities, right?
Absolutely.
They're
Absolutely.
just bright, colorful,
Yes.
animated people.
Yes.
So that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking
No,
about that thing that you feel, that uneasiness that you feel, that it's like it's
absolutely.
always an interruption. It's chaos,
Yes.
We're talking about that sort of loudness. I
Yeah.
feel that exists when there's a deficiency somewhere, and it's
Mm.
sometimes maybe unbeknownst to the carrier, and sometimes it's an acting out, searching for that thing, and so I have to
Whew.
do these things, and I attach myself to things that I shouldn't be attached to, and I got weird perspectives, and I have
Yeah.
awkwardness because I haven't figured out this thing. And I'm
Yeah.
talking very abstract, but if you've ever felt that and you've ever been through, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think
Absolutely.
clarity happens once we work through those things.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
we work through those things, for sure,
Yeah.
there is a peace, there is a calmness, there is a confidence that comes with better information. And sometimes it's as simple as updating the operating system. Sometimes it's as simple as getting updated information.
Update your
You are still
system.
running off of the thing that you discovered about yourself in 1995. And you're
Yeah.
wondering why you're walking in rooms in 2025 and feeling insecure, feeling
Yeah.
unstable, feeling unseen, unheard. We see you, we
Yeah.
hear you. You
Yeah.
gotta recalibrate and come up to
Recalibrate.
date. So
That's
maybe
so
that means getting a coach. Maybe that
that's so
means
good.
simply asking for feedback from your team. Maybe that means sitting down and journaling and asking yourself some tough questions and being okay with
Yes.
sitting through that intensity. See,
Yes.
hard conversations start with ourselves. That's where they start. That's where they
That's
start.
so true. That's
If
so
you
true.
can't look in the mirror,
That's so
if
true.
you can't sit down and do an inventory for yourself,
Yeah.
how can you show up authentically in a
Come
conversation with
on.
anybody
That's so
else?
good. That's
So it's from the inside out.
it's from the
So
inside. Yeah.
clarity happens when we are able to do the work that needs to be done. And
Yes.
sometimes it's a simple, practical recalibration. And sometimes you need to, like we were talking about earlier, sit in it with support. With support.
Absolutely. One of my the Lord really has me in this space of the word. And I've not always been in that place, but recently I really have been just and one of the things that as you were talking, I thought about the scripture that says, in the multitude of wisdom, right? Like there's so much in
multitude of counsel.
Multitude of counsel there is wisdom. Yes. And counsel doesn't just mean going to people, but being able to find, like, counsel sometimes is tapping into who you are and really asking that is counsel, right? That being able to know, okay, I didn't handle that quite correctly. I could have done this because this really stemmed from X, Y, and Z. And I really didn't trust this individual. Why didn't I trust them? Because they reminded me of X, Y. Being able to know that is also counsel. Like knowing it's also counsel, but also, like you said, sometimes you do need a coach, and sometimes you need someone that can help guide you through that space. It's imperative that you surround yourself with wisdom. I'm just somebody that believes in that.
Oh my goodness. You are riling me up because we have to be asked the right questions. And the more brilliant we are, the more creative we are, the more gifted we are, the more accurate and precise the questions need to be. You need like a surgical conversation. You can't, people like to find these mentors and have community of people that just are echo chambers. And so that's why you're limited. That's why you're stunted. You don't like to be asked anything. You don't want to be challenged. You don't want to be questioned. And that's why you don't grow. You have to be able to have enough quiet in your life that you can detect when there's a hovering question around yourself, when there's a hovering question happening in your soul, because that's your invitation from the future to grow beyond. A lot of times that's God saying, hello, over here. That's so. You got to be willing to sit in that and be asked some questions. Those are navigators that come along.
Yeah.
So that's an encouragement to anybody. If you're walking through something and you can't put your finger on it, you need to get quiet, unplug, slow down, cancel.
And it's okay to do that.
You don't want to do that.
It's okay to do that and give yourself permission. Like we're in an information age where we got to go. We're in information and execution age, right? Where everything is always moving all the time, very quickly, 24/7. And if we are not careful, that will consume our lives. We cannot be afraid of the silence. We cannot be afraid of quiet. We cannot.
We can't create anything new for ourselves because we're too busy consuming everything else.
Come on.
We're too busy consuming everything. We wake up 5 a.m. in the morning and we're...
The first thing you do is grab our phone and scroll. Boom. And if we don't change that, if we don't change that and you're not willing to make the necessary sacrifices to change and shift that, like you have to be.
It's just a bunch of noise.
It's just a bunch of
noise. You can be as busy as you want to be. You can be plastered on as many flyers as you want to be plastered on. And at the end of the day, you could still not really walk in the grace that you need to develop in your personhood, which is the thing that's going to keep you. That's the thing that's going to keep you at that table that you've been invited to. Because you're thinking it's your resume. The paperwork gets you in the door, but your personhood secures your seat at the table. That's what gives you sustainability. That's what gives you longevity. Because if you don't know how to manage all that goodness and brilliance and all that you have.
Come on. You're going to make me run around this office. Like, I'm like, wait, what? I need something to grab because
Yes.
That
We
is so
have to take
good.
responsibility for ourselves. We
Yes.
have to take responsibility for ourselves.
I think I mentioned this last week. I have a new business coach, and she sent me a video to watch, and it talked about leading yourself. We have to lead our. We're trying to lead everybody else, and we're not leading ourselves. We're trying to tell everybody else what to do that we're not doing, and it challenged me as someone who handles people's branding, social media, all that. I don't like to be in the front. And I had to challenge myself and say, okay, well, what does this look like for you, Nicole? And not that it has to emulate what I'm doing with everyone else. It don't have to look like all of my clients. It don't have to look like what they have to do, because I'm not them. But what are you doing to actually implement what you know to be true and what you know to like? And so I had to challenge myself and lead myself in that way, right? Like being able, and it's shifted a whole lot of my mindset. There are leaders, and they talk about like the most successful people, how they're planners. They plan everything, right? They plan everything. They listen, they read, they take they're strategic in everything they do. They have a schedule, they have a routine. When you look at the people that have made it, if you will, and I'm not talking about those that have just temporary success. I'm talking about those that have consistent, have shifted their lives into a consistent momentum. There's a leading of themselves. They wake up at the same time every single day. It don't matter what they have on their calendar. Right? It does not matter. They get up, they do what they need to do. They're moving, they're exercising, they're reading, they're taking information that is going to shift them. They surround themselves with people that are better than themselves. All of those things. When I say there were things in that message that really helped me, there were things I realized I was already doing, and so it was like, okay, you ain't that bad. You're doing all right. You're doing all right. But being able to then shift in some of these other areas, because you've never arrived. Like we've never arrived at this place, and if we don't take a minute to quiet ourselves, we'll become stagnant because we think we've arrived. Like don't take a moment to reflect and say, okay, where am I really? Like where am I really at? We won't ever shift into our next space.
We won't. You won't know that you're injured until you rest. You don't know how tired you are until you actually sit down for a minute and rest. You don't know if you're hurt. You don't know what questions you may have. You don't know what your needs are until you're able to rest and reassess. And what you're talking about that sustained success or credibility, those people also know when to optimize.
Yes.
It's like I have a system, but then I'm also able to discern when it's time to update that system. We update our phones like clockwork.
Most of us update our phones.
It's out of date. It's a no-go.
Absolutely.
But we don't feel like we need to do that with ourselves.
And we're prompted, right? When we talk about, we get a prompt. I know everybody on here is not necessarily tech savvy, because I see some of these names coming through, but we all get a good prompting, right? We all get a good prompting from Apple. If you have a good iPhone, you get a prompt, okay, from Apple that says, hey, it's time to update. It's time to update. And that's Holy Spirit is just like that. Who knew Apple could be just like Holy Spirit? Prompting us to update.
We miss the prompting a lot of times.
We miss them. We ignore them.
We ignore it. That's the better, we ignore it.
We ignore them, because I think we know. When you look back and you and like you're really honest with yourself, we know that knowing, and like training yourself. Somebody said to me this morning, you got to begin to speak certain things over your life and over yourself, because I was getting nervous. And I was like, I'm retraining myself. I'm retraining my brain for that to be my autopilot. And until I get there, hey, I'm nervous. Hello. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Because I need that to begin to shift and train in the transition space, being able to surround yourself with people who do things better than you, right? Who do things like you were talking about. It all comes back full circle. So you all, I am so excited. Welcome to the Confidence Factor. I am so excited to have my dear friend, personal development coach, communications expert, and EQ powerhouse and specialist, Cherish Brown. Y'all, she has blessed us this morning so far. I see you all coming in. Like, share, comment. I see Prophet Eula has joined us, Apostle Felicia Oliver, Rochelle, Sherry Amore. I'm so excited to have you all. Thank you for joining us this morning. This next aspect and segment that we're going to discuss is something that Cherish and I talk about this specifically, probably every single conversation we've ever had. In some capacity, this comes up. And this is, hello, Mr. Victor. How are you? It's so good to see you on. But one of the things that we always talk about is overcoming fear. Mm-hmm. Fear has been something that I have, come on, Arizona in the house. Fear is something that I have personally dealt with my entire life. It's something that really, I realized, started in the womb, right? It started in the womb. I come from a lineage of people that are a little more anxious. And they sometimes don't even acknowledge their anxiety. They don't acknowledge the place that they're operating from fear. They're moving from a place of fear of missing out, or FOMO, but also just fear of being better, fear of what could be, fear of others' opinions. And so this was something that was innate in me that I had to begin to fight through. And once I realized it wasn't just something outwardly that began to attack me, right? It wasn't just this like attack. It wasn't just this
right
external, but it was something inwardly that was within my DNA that I had to ask God to really renew my mind to help me to overcome. And so a lot of this space is overcoming fear, right? That is what this is. Even doing this live and doing these shows with people, it is overcoming the fear. It is overcoming those things. And so what do you say to someone who feels their voice is not enough? And what do you say to the people who feel that they are not able to overcome that fear?
Yeah, if you feel like your voice is not enough, you need a fresh revelation of your voice, of who you are. Because confidence is not about being the best. It's about understanding that you as you are enough just from jump, just from go. Okay. Yeah. So if you don't feel like your voice is enough, number one, you need to realize that it is, but I know that's easier said than done. Yeah. But just for the sake of everything, just embrace that. Yeah. But also ask yourself, why? Why do you not think that your voice is enough? Sometimes it could be where we come from. We maybe we're dealing with some aspect of shame. Sometimes we could just feel not prepared. I don't have enough education. I don't have the support system. I don't have the finances. I don't have the opportunity. Yeah. A lot of those things can be worked on. If you feel like you don't have the training or the development, there are people that can help with that. There are resources that can help with that. Don't just sit and saying, I'm not enough. Ask yourself, why don't I feel like I'm enough? Because sometimes it's not as abstract as, we want to make it seem. It's not as mystical as we want to make it to be. We just need a practical solution a lot of times. Yeah. So embrace, number one, that you are enough, but then find practical ways to reach that confidence, that awareness within yourself, because it does help when you feel like I'm prepared. Now, we can get caught up in that. We can do that analysis paralysis situation.
Absolutely.
Once we start learning and growing, because then it's like we never learn enough. We're never prepared enough. We're waiting for the green light. And God's like, if you don't just go, you got it. We just sitting there fat on information. We just sitting here just overly informed and doing nothing with the information. They talk about that. I'm a part of this conference this weekend called Kings and Priests, and they're talking about doing ministry and marketplace and how people just gather information. We have the things to do. We know what to do. We know how to merge these. We know it. We've been taught this. I know people want to act like some of these things are new. They're not. I don't know how many more certifications you need to get because there are people out there, light years ahead with a fraction of the knowledge, the experience, the awareness, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, that you have. So at some point you got to say, why is this constantly a sticking point to me? Going back to that hovering question, why do I feel like my voice is not enough? Lord, reveal to me what this is so that it can be dealt with.
Yeah.
So that I can continue to move forward.
Listen, having to ask yourself and asking yourself how to, because one of the things you were talking about, I literally, at one point I would have to write a problem and then write the solution and then write, what do I need, draw a line, and what do I need to make this line a reality so I can get from this problem to this solution, and being able to write out, okay, I need this, and not from a place of self-pity, but also not a place from fear. Sometimes we're afraid. I was afraid of needing things and afraid of needing someone else, afraid of needing people, afraid of needing, just afraid of needing, afraid of wanting, afraid of desiring. And so which is really just a fear of your future.
Yeah.
Really just a fear of you. When I really broke it down, I was really afraid of the future, because that is the piece that would connect me, was my need, was my want, and not being afraid of those things, and not being afraid of those dynamics, and being able to write out exactly what I needed, and then being able to say, okay, give myself permission to say, it's okay to ask for this.
It's okay to ask for this. And it's okay to be disappointed. It is, we have to, if we want grace for ourselves, we have to give grace for our full experience, which is sometimes you are going to be disappointed by people. Now, that can cause us to live in a season of, we can allow that to go too far and too deep. We can carry disappointment like a badge. We don't have to do that, but it is natural. We don't have to pathologize everything. Being disappointed is a part of life. People not hitting the mark is a part of life. You don't hit everybody's mark. It really is okay.
It really is okay. And you're going to disappoint yourself sometimes. You're going to disappoint. You're going to make promises to you that you're going to break. You're going to make promises to others that you're going to break. And you're going to be disappointed all of the time. It's just a part of life. And when you learn to love yourself and learn to love others through that, I am someone that when I would be disappointed by someone, I would lock up and I would not communicate with them. I would shut down, and not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how to work through disappointment. Nobody ever taught me how to work through disappointment. And it wasn't until someone sat me down and shook me and said, hey, we're going to work through this and we're going to get through this. That then I learned how to, now I can actually put it into practice and say, now let's communicate through this. Let's push through this disappointment. But disappointment will build up a wall on the inside of you.
That is debilitating.
It is debilitating.
Yes. But it's so crazy, because what happens to us between the time that we're born and adulthood? Because when we're learning how to crawl and how to walk, we can fall down, bump ourselves a million times, but we keep getting back up, continuing to try. We don't go through depression. We don't find ourselves in a corner crying for hours. We get back up and we continue to roll. We drag ourselves until we figure it out. And so we have to understand that life experiences sometimes leave us with this residue that is just unhelpful. So that's why we need rest, because we need to detox from those things.
Yes.
People say, life is the greatest teacher, but it can also leave us with a lot of baggage that is just unnecessary. Some things we don't need to carry. We don't need to continue to think about. We don't need to identify what we got to stop identifying with everything. It's like, okay, that was tough. That didn't feel good.
In our generation, in our day, that's a thing. You identify with everything.
Everything.
It's like, there's so many fads going, I'll say this publicly. I was diagnosed with ADHD at a young age. In like third grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And my brain is wired in a different way. It's definitely wired differently. And I don't look at it like a sickness anymore. It's something, it is the way my brain is truly wired. And when I started seeing everyone online, there's just everybody in the world that has ADHD now. Like there's just everybody just, it's just, oh, I got ADHD because I got a million cats, or I got distracted over here. And so now, no, it's also a matter of your self-discipline. It's also a matter of you not being quiet and sitting with yourself. It's also, these are things that they taught me. They do manually teach me how to do some of these things because of my ADHD. And I had to be able to, the way my brain works, I had to be intentional to remember to do some of those things. Right. Because I did. But when I saw everybody in them, and they mamas and they daddies and they kids and everybody, and there is truly some of it is, you know, we've been misidentified as a people group. By all of those things are absolutely at play, 1000%. But at large, we identify with everything we see, and it's becoming unhealthy, and it affects when you identify and say life and death is in, somebody just said that to me this morning, life and death is in the power of the tongue. What you say and what you agree, what you come into agreement with becomes you. And that affects how you deal with day-to-day life, and you deal with others. That's how you deal with others. I want to talk about imposter syndrome. This is such a buzzword topic. Everybody has imposter syndrome, and I for a long time didn't understand, and I kept saying, "Are y'all calling me an imposter?" Like and I kept saying, "They keep telling me I'm an imposter. They keep telling me I'm an imposter," and I didn't understand what it meant. So could you please tell the people? Shantae Atkins is on Insta and says, "Hey, yay, Cherish." It's so good to see everybody on. But could you define that for people? What is what is the imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome is, in simple terms, it's basically just your internal experience of feeling like a fraud. You know, anything that is positive or something that happens to you that's great, that shows growth, that's an opportunity, you think, oh, it's just luck. It's like you find a way to minimize it all the time, because it couldn't just be that this is for me. It couldn't just be that I am actually the thing, that I am not just the noun, but also the verb. It couldn't just be that. It has to be some other little catch, like there's some type of coupon going on. There's some type of clearance sale going on. Like
I'm on clearance. Like
it's always a catch. You know, you feel like you're a joke, basically, like a joke that people are going to mess around and figure out one day, and then I'm going to be caught. You know, there's some type of internal quiet guilt that you walk around with, and it is just an illusion. It's just an illusion. If you're in a place, it's because this is where you're supposed to be. If God has you doing a thing, it's because that's what He wants you to do. Whether you feel like it, we have to deal with that, but also don't get caught up in it. I'm not going to keep trying to condition myself to oh my goodness, I got to make myself believe. At some point, I'm just going to do it. God, this is what you have me here to do. This is what you've given me. Let's go. Let's go.
Once you get to that place, it is so freeing.
Yeah.
It is so freeing. You don't have to, oh God, you do not have to sit in that place. You do
all
not
that investigating. It's like, what are you investigating for? God knows every realm, dimension, depth, height, breadth, width of everything. And out of all of that, out of the expanse of all of that, He chose you.
He chose you.
And He is sovereign. If you love the God that you serve, why are you questioning it? Just go. And I know it's a humbling thing. God, you would use me. You would place me. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, silly.
Yeah.
Just go.
Really?
Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the walk, the journey with the Lord. Enjoy it.
Yes, that's so good. That is so good. Oh, that is so good. How would you tell somebody who's really genuinely stuck in that place of shame and guilt and dealing with imposter syndrome? How would you tell them to bring themselves out of it?
You got to lose your obsession with controlling everything. And sometimes, and I know that may just be a piece of it, but that to me is one of the central points of it. Because sometimes what we've walked through in life, disappointments, you know, that led us down interesting journeys, we developed this obsession with controlling everything. And so if I can't do that, If I see that there's like a point that doesn't connect, I'm automatically like, oh my goodness, I can't deal with this. This isn't secure. This isn't, I don't see the end. I don't see the perfect thing. I don't see the,
Come on.
we're
Come on.
obsessed with controlling.
We are obsessed. And it's something within our culture.
Yeah.
Like this is not just a normal,
Yeah.
like there's, I think everybody deals with it in some capacity, but we are in control in some space, and we should have self-control and all of those things,
Absolutely.
right? But we really do. We really do have a problem in our society when it comes to control and being able to control everything.
Because we don't really want to go through anything. We don't really want to grow through anything.
We don't
really, because we talk about humility now in a way that is like so arbitrary and superficial.
I hate it, Cherish.
Yeah.
You know that's a point for me. And
we don't want to grow. That's why we want to be perfect. That's why we want to be perfect. But you can't want to be excellent and also perfect, because perfection has a limit. Perfection has a limit.
You can't want to be excellent and perfect,
because those two things do not go together. If you strive for excellence, that means you are constantly ascending. You're constantly recalibrating. You're making mistakes. You're contending for what you know to be true. So you're going to miss the mark sometimes. Excellence is not perfection. Perfection is so fixed, and it's such a limitation. That's why I don't even go to God with those yes or no questions. I don't even say, God, can I do this? Lord, if you've dropped it in my lap, obviously I can do it. So tell me, how many different ways can I do this? Show me how many different ways can you use me, Lord? I am freeing myself from the limitation of other people's interpretation, their expectation, what I know, what I don't know. Lord, you've given me the green light because I'm here.
Because I'm
here is right now.
Come on.
So be with me as I journey through all the different ways and aspects and create. God is so creative and fresh. He's so creative and fresh.
And I'm like, God really is the only measure of perfection. Like he really is the only perfect one.
Yeah.
That's
why it doesn't exist, because that role is taken.
It's taken. Perfection is taken.
Yeah.
Perfection is taken. How many ways can I do this? That's such a good, that is such a good question to begin to ask yourself. Or God, and not even just ask yourself, but asking God, how many ways do you want to be glorified through me?
Do you want to be glorified through me? Because God can give you one word. He can give you one word, and then we get stuck on that one word from now until the cows come home. Instead of you saying, okay, I know that my purpose is to bring healing of some sort, to like help people heal this or whatever. And so we get stuck on what our one, idea or revelation of that word is. And it's like, if you would just unlock that and open it up.
Yes.
And it's a treasure chest.
It's a treasure chest.
It's a treasure chest.
When you think about like entrepreneurs and they get business owners and they get ideas and they have this thing, right? This is what I saw. This is what it was. And I'm somebody who has visions and sees things. And I'm one of those people, right? Like I don't mind.
You're one of them.
I definitely one of them. You don't have to.
Definitely one of them.
I'm going to go into that space on today, but truly, when we get into that, we can get fixed on it. Yeah. We can get so fixed on it that we don't adapt to what's happening in the moment. And one of the things I have learned about the Lord is even the Lord will adapt a moment.
Yeah.
To what's happening around, to the people in the room. Yeah. He will give you what to say and then adapt everything because somebody else showed up in the room, because somebody else made a decision to come into you. So now we have to shift, and now we have to adjust, and now we have to communicate differently. Now we have to say something differently. Now we may not be able to say what we thought we were going to say because somebody else is in the room, and we're going to actually cause damage.
Yeah.
So maybe I can't say it that way. I might have to adjust that thing and say it differently or do it differently.
Yeah.
Or maybe I got to use a different color. This is where for my branding and entrepreneur and design people, maybe I got to use a different color today because it's going to speak to a certain audience. I'm coming to speak to men. I'm not coming to speak to women, but I'm going to still wear a bunch of pink today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to still be very, and you could still be yourself. You're going to, but being presentable to your audience, knowing what to say.
You can listen. It's not about recreating the wheel, right? It's about your unique spin or whatever fresh spin that God wants to put on it. So it's not about not being yourself. It's just understanding what expression of myself needs to be present today for what needs to be done in this space right now for who's here. You know, all aspects of me are not always helpful. I'm like a toolkit. Okay. And stewarding myself.
You are absolutely. Absolutely.
We want to steward everything except ourselves.
Except ourselves.
You know, that's why I laugh at people when they say, well, this is me. This is everything that I am. Take me or leave me. It's
and like, don't want to adjust and don't want to change.
Nobody said we don't accept you, but that part right there isn't needed right now. That would just like going to a funeral and laughing the whole time. Or standing up doing comedy the whole time. You may be the most funny person in the world, but now is not the time for that. That's not helpful. So
it's not.
We gotta accept that we need to be more reliant on the Lord and His Spirit than we actually are comfortable with.
And there's an aspect of this that you have to die to yourself. We talk about that in such a cliche way. Fasting, we got to fast and pray, watch and pray. But there's an aspect of your identity that comes alive when you actually die to your flesh, because our identity is not just rooted in our fleshly desires and what I just want for no reason. You know the difference between the desire that you have and the desire that God placed on the inside of you. We know it. You do know. And when you lean more into one than the other, you begin to hear that one more. And the more you begin to die to your flesh, the more your true identity can come to the forefront. And then you can, even in that identity of Christ, Jesus always knew who he was talking to. He always knew who was in the room. He always identified, right? The woman at the well, he identified her, said, hey, I know you. I know your people. I know all the men that you had around you I know all of that.
Every last one of them.
Every last one. All them 5 husbands and the one that you with now. I know all of them. I know about it. But hey, let me truly tell you about yourself. Like, I know what's really there, but let me tell you what's really there. And he shifted her identity in a moment because he shifted her focus from her fleshly identity and who she was in the moment to her spiritual identity, to who she really was. Because it wasn't that there was this new thing. That person was always there. He just identified it on the inside. That's all that he identified and said, now it's time for you to come forward. I'm sick of this. We're not doing this.
I'm sick of this. We got to simplify. I love simplification. And not in a way of being simple-minded or being childish, but I mean simplification. And I love how I think he's a communication theorist or something, but he describes simplification as silencing the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. So it's not that we have to be something that we're not, but again, it's just being a good steward over what is actually necessary. So we can keep the main thing. Because see, you're getting caught up in your background, your history, what you've done, your shame, people's thoughts, their ideas, their perception. And all I want you to do is get this understanding right here. Because once we align with this, everything else will calibrate as a result.
Everything else will calibrate. Listen, I want to talk a little bit about communication style. And I know we didn't necessarily plan to talk about this, but I want to talk about communication style for a second, because I think all of this plays a massive part into it. How do you begin to identify your communication style? And how do you then adapt that communication style in a space that still reaches your audience?
So when you say communication style, do you mean Just like literally in the natural, talking to someone one-on-one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Because
how do you adapt your communication based on the need?
yes, based on the need in the room. So if I'm a pretty direct person, right? Like I can, and I don't always think of myself that way, but the more I begin to sit with myself,
Just a little bit.
I can be a little direct. But and I'm learning to be okay with that, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes my directness can come across as aggressive, right?
Yes.
And so learning how to adapt that in the moment to, because Jesus was direct, like going back to that's where this came from, right? I know sometimes my brain can be like squirrel, but
You're good. I'm following.
It really came from a place, right? So when we were talking about the woman at the well, Jesus was very direct. Hey, I know you've been with 5 men and the one you with now ain't it. Like, let's identify, we're going to speak to that thing, but also let me speak truth. He was very direct, but it was also laced in so much love. And so how do you, for those that are direct or those that are not direct and need to kind of pull out a little bit more, how do you even begin to shift and learn how to do that? Where can people begin to understand the practicality of shifting and adapting your communication style?
Yeah. Number one, you need to do an inventory of just past interactions and figure out where's the discrepancy. So if you find that you feel like you're leading and communicating with a lot of empathy, a lot of love, but people are always offended, they never want to talk to you again, you're always rubbing somebody the wrong way, it's like, okay, that's enough data points. If it's happening, it's a pattern. You want to look for the patterns.
Look for the pattern.
And if there's a discrepancy, you want to address that. And it'll be obvious. You know, if you are a person who feels like they're being really assertive, but people are always talking over you. You know what I mean? You say something and then somebody turns around and says the same thing. It's like, I just said that. You know, you are able to do the job, but people always look over you. Now, obviously, there can be other things at play, but for the sake of what you're saying, you have to find the patterns in your history. Ask for feedback. You know, look for people that you trust, that you know have your back, and ask honest questions. This is how I feel. How is it coming across? And then also set your goals for interactions, because that will help temper whatever needs to be tempered. So if I know I'm coming into this interaction because I want to gain your trust, I'm not going to come shooting out with an insult. I'm not going to endeavor to offend you, because if I'm delivering truth, truth is inherently offensive. So we need not ever endeavor to be offensive, to get anybody's attention. Because the truth is going to do that, you know, in and of itself. So you have to set your goals for the interaction.
Yes.
Do I want them to walk away with a new understanding? Do I want them to walk away with trusting me? Do I want them to walk away with knowing that I heard them, that I understand them? Once you set your intention and your goal for the interaction, you will begin to adjust yourself. And if you need to do it ahead of time, do it.
Yes.
We practice and rehearse everything else. We will rewrite our posts for Instagram a million times. But we will walk into a sensitive, emotionally charged conversation and not even think about what we want to walk away with, you know. So write down your goals. And as you're writing down your goals and practicing how to present yourself in that situation, those things will begin to line up. You'll start working out that unnecessary noise that you don't need going in. Like certain thing, I don't need a whole lot of sauce if I'm trying to solve a problem. I just need the facts. I need logic, and I need everybody to trust that we're working toward a solution. If I need to reach people in a different way, maybe they don't feel a lot of love. Maybe I need some techniques because I'm too sharp. You know, maybe I need to learn how to sandwich my comments. You know, maybe I need to open up with positivity and love and reassurance, so that when I drop the nugget on you, it doesn't send you running. You know, it's very simple things. You just have to take the time and have enough humility to actually take responsibility for ourselves as communicators and say, there's a goal here. If God has me here communicating with you, there is a goal, and I don't want to mishandle this. So let me give myself some tools and some information and some training so that I don't mishandle the moment. and the
That is
opportunity.
so good. That is so good, and such practical knowledge to be able to tie it together. Because I think sometimes we say things right, but we don't always like know how. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, that's cute. That's
We
real
just
cute.
want to say how we feel it.
Yeah,
And ooh,
yeah. But we prepare, like you said, we prepare for meetings. We prepare
yeah,
for you get ready for church. But you say, okay, let me prepare for this moment. Let me pray. Let me get my
yes.
mind together. This is go. But we don't pray for the normal interactions. We don't
On the
pray.
fly, those on the fly moments
Come on,
will create opportunity for you or
come on.
ruin opportunities.
They will
Got to
create
get it in our bodies.
opportunities or ruin opportunities.
Yes, I think of, okay, so my dance background, right? When
Yeah,
we are learning a new sequence,
yeah,
we're not in here to freestyle. We are learning the rules of this floor, of these moves, so that when it's time to perform, it's in our bodies and we can trust it and just dance full out. You
yeah.
got to get it in your body so that it's innate to you. You got to practice better communication. You got to practice sitting in intense moments. You got to practice being
Practice it.
uncomfortable. You got to practice apologizing.
That's so
You
good.
have to practice
Practice.
acknowledging and taking accountability for things. You have to practice asking for help. You have to practice these things because sometimes it's just those little things that keep us from a doorway of just growth and abundance.
And I think people are afraid of the other extreme, right? So when you're in one extreme, often it's
Yeah.
because you're afraid of the other extreme or you're avoiding this other extreme. So if I'm super loud, I'm afraid of being silenced, right? I'm
Yeah.
afraid of losing my voice because I have it, right? I got my voice. I'm
Mhm.
afraid of losing it. Or if I'm quiet, I'm afraid of being loud. I'm afraid of what that would do. You're afraid of the extreme, but being
Yeah.
able to practice, and you can't be afraid of the other thing, the other extreme. And like you said, put some people around you that can give you the feedback. Hey, how are you experiencing me in this moment? How are
Yes,
you experiencing this? And then begin
absolutely.
to they'll pull you in. Oh, the
Yes,
people, they will pull
they
you
will.
in. They will pull you
They
in
will.
and you'll know, like you said, follow the patterns.
It's amazing because we are born and then we grow up and we learn how to speak and we learn how to emote and interact with people, and so we think we're good communicators.
We think we are.
We think being a good communicator happens naturally, or we think because I use a lot of words and I talk a lot to people, I'm social, I'm always in everybody's face, I'm a great communicator. That doesn't necessarily mean that. Or we think, oh, I'm pretty reserved, I don't like offending people, I'm a good communicator. No,
No,
that's just personality stuff.
come on.
You're aware of your personality, but you got to manage those skills so that they can be cultivated. Communication takes practice.
It
Yeah.
takes you. One thing I learned from you is um, you're someone that we talked about this. You always have to be willing to learn. You always have to be willing to expand. And a good communicator doesn't mean that I know everything. Being good at anything
No,
doesn't mean I know anything. Even
no.
teachers have to have continuing education, right?
Yeah.
They don't, once you get your degree, you're not just going to teach this forever. You're not going to stay in this classroom teaching these kids unless you go get your continuing education credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to continually educate yourself. Same
Mm-hmm.
with communication. As we grow and as we learn, there's a new generation coming behind us that has different words, that has different language,
Yeah.
that has different understanding of the words we used
Mm-hmm.
as we were growing up. If we don't understand them, we'll never reach them.
We're just not going to connect.
We're
We're just
never going to connect.
oh,
We're
I
just going to
just
talk in
don't
our
talk
little
to
bubble.
people from this generation. What are we talking about?
But
Yeah.
that's what happened in so
Yeah.
many ways. And if we're not, I mean, I remember we've been we were in the creative group. We were talking about we were in a creative group. Let me give you all some context for
Mm-hmm.
millennials. We're a bunch of us that are creatives and entrepreneurs that just wanted to come together. We didn't have a sense of community. We didn't necessarily have all of us were looking for that type of dynamic where we could come together and connect about our creativity. Let's be very clear, because we had other people, but it was different to be able to connect about this and be accountable to one another. And in that space, I think I began to realize I miss the other people. Like millennials, we cool, all right? And I'm like, that's great. Like I love being able to be with those that I can speak to. And because I'm old in the head, I think like I needed. Yeah, I know we're all. That's why, y'all. That's really why we connect the way
That's
we
really
do.
because
we old. Like all the old people in the group, we all connected. Like it was like Sherry was on here, she old in the head. Like we all connected. Shantae was on here, we all was old in the head, right? I don't know. It's just how that worked. But I was like, I missed the other people, the other dynamics. I missed the Gen Xers. I missed the like I at one point thought we was the young people, but we were no longer the young people. So, when you bring it brings really a true beauty of blending, but you have to then learn how to communicate with them.
Because once we grasp the idea that we're here to connect and not control, a lot of things will be easier. For me, as a communication trainer, I feel that when you communicate, when you're sending a message, when you're receiving it, you're doing one of those two things, either in a control model or a connect model.
Come on.
You either have your mindset to control or to connect and be collaborative.
Yes.
And have empathy and sharing. That's a completely different track. You got to decide what track you're on. And don't be on the control track. This is a cheat sheet. Don't be on the control track. So whatever training or growth you need to do to get over to the connect model, that's what you need to do, because that's where progress is. That's where growth is. That's where flow is. That's where alignment is. That's where relationship is. That's where building is.
Yeah. That's good. That is so good. Listen, we are way past our time, but I was like, we're going to try to keep it to an hour today. But I knew that talking to my friend today might just be a little challenging, because this is just us talking. This is our normal, y'all. Like this really is what we talk about when we talk. Like this is, and I love this for us and for the people, being able to bring you all into this moment with us. But I want to wrap up with talking about your voice and your legacy. How does using your voice impact the people that you're called to? And what legacy are we building when we choose to speak with intention?
Say that one more time.
I'm gonna say the ending, because we kind of touched on the first question. The last one is, what legacy are we building when we choose to speak with intention? What are we actually building when we do that? What are we leaving?
We're building something that's true, something that's honest. When we choose to speak or do anything with intention, it's taken a journey to get to that intention. You can't even be aware of what intention needs to be set, needs to be said, needs to be expressed without journeying through your identity, your purpose, and your assignment. We use those words interchangeably, but they mean different things. But once we align in those things, our intentions are set. You won't even find me in a room that I'm not supposed to be in, for real. You know what I mean? Because I have such a clear understanding of who I am, why I'm here, and what I am here to do. And I like to use the analogy of a chair. Just pretend that this is a chair. Okay. Everybody, this is a chair. It's not a fan.
It's not a fan today. It's a chair. It's a chair.
Just pretend this is a chair. The identity, or I'll just use the thing I'm sitting in. This right here. The identity of it is a chair.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The overall purpose of it is to support. But the assignment for this chair,
come on and break
this morning, is to support Cherish Brown.
Come on.
In this conversation.
Come on.
The assignment tomorrow could be to be used as a step stool so that I can reach my curtain rod.
Don't do that, friend. But yes.
But see, I wouldn't do that. Not with this chair, because it's
don't do
what I'm saying. But so the assignment on the lower level may shift from time to time, from season to season, from day to day, but the overall purpose to support and the identity of being a chair does not shift. And once that is settled, the intent of this chair will never be confused. And so I apply that to my own life. Who am I? Why am I here? And what am I here to do right now?
That is so good.
Once I get aligned in those things, you will rarely catch me having a conversation that I shouldn't be having.
Come on.
Going somewhere that I shouldn't be going. And it doesn't always have to be something bad. It's just unproductive. It's unproductive. And where there's too much unproductive activity, there's not a lot of safety there. I need to get where I'm safe. So I need to be aligned in those 3 buckets.
That is
And
so.
so when it comes to legacy and having intention, listen, once you align in those 3 places, your legacy is going to be what it's going to be. And of course, we have those things that we talk about, leaving this for our children and all of that. But legacy is also the life that we actually live.
It is.
Our personhood, the impressions that we leave on people, how we raise our children, the kind of person they know us to be.
Come on. Come on.
That's legacy.
Come on.
That's
Our
legacy.
people are afraid of others' opinions, and we shouldn't let that others' opinions drive us and make decisions based off of them in totality. But we are afraid to hear the feedback, apply it, and to adjust who we are, because we think we're adjusting our identity by adjusting the when the assignment shifts, we think it's affecting our identity. But if you're settled in your assignment and you understand the purpose of, if you're settled in your identity and you understand the purpose, and you know that those things don't change.
Those things don't change.
They don't change unless
you're in your assignment. It's okay. Because maybe this assignment right now is uncomfortable, but that's okay. Just do it. Just do it. You're still a chair. You're still here to support.
Chair is still a chair. That's what the song
Even if there's no one sitting there.
Even if there's no one sitting there.
Come on.
Luther
taught us
that's
that.
So good. Luther. Yeah. Come on. That is so good. Friend, I have had such a great time talking to you this morning. You all, thank you all for joining. Those that have been a part of this morning. Thank you for joining us on the Confidence Factor with the one and the only Cherish Brown. You all go connect with her. She has some good things coming out this later this summer. Be sure to follow her, comment, all of the things that you do on social media. She really has some amazing content that she puts out. She's funny, but she also gives you some really good advice and in simple form, right? Yeah. That's she talks about that simplicity. And when she said it, I kind of giggled because I was like, that is my friend. Like I was surprised when she came on here and she had on a green shirt, y'all, because normally Cherish has on black. And I'm like, Cherish I love black because of Cherish, because she showed me what black. I
want to try to do something different today.
Listen, I love it. I love it. I was like, oh, she got green on. Like it was, and I loved it. But it's still very her. She gonna have a solid. And I said she gonna have a solid. She gonna have a solid shirt on. She gonna have a plant in the background because we knew what this was today. I knew how my friend was gonna show up today, and I am so glad that you did. Do you have any last and final words before we close out this morning?
No, just do the work. That's it.
Do the work.
Just do the work. Embrace it. Yeah.
Do the work and embrace it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know that
for having me.
I'm so excited. We're gonna have to have you back because we touched on some things that I said. Yes, we touched on some things we have to dig into. So
yes, ma'am.
I love that. Thank you so much. Well, you all, this has been such an amazing time this morning. When I say Cherish is a true friend of mine and you all joined in a conversation that we have all the time, I mean that. And if today spoke to you, if this blessed you, if you know someone that this could bless, share this with someone, comment, all of the things. You can follow Cherish at cherish.brown, or you can connect with her at her website, cherishbrown.com. And you can also follow me at Nicole Marie Inspires on all of the platforms as well. I am so excited. Remember today and tomorrow that confidence isn't loud, it's anchored, and your voice matters. That's what we learned today, that ultimately you get to show up in a space, right? You get to do it. You get to give yourself permission. So please give yourself the permission that you need to use your voice, to be confident and to walk in it, and to adjust and be willing to adjust the assignment as you get them, as they come to you. Your identity doesn't have to change. So those of you that joined us today, thank you again. I love you all, and I will see you all next week. And let me tell you all what we're going to have next week. Next week, I am so excited. We are going to have my spiritual mother, Dr. Angela L. T. Bow. Listen, she is absolutely amazing. And those that know her know that this is going to be an amazing time. We're going to focus on soul care and being whole and how it connects with your confidence. We've touched on little things here and there throughout the few weeks, but next week we're going to dive into that topic a little bit deeper. And y'all, she's amazing. So I'm excited to have her. I'm so honored, a little nervous, but I'm so excited to have her and honored to have her as well. So please join me next week, and you all have a wonderful week. We will see you then.